The Narcissist New Supply. The new supply is a much-needed replacement for the narcissist, and will be taken on the cycle of abuse without fail. The relationship may look different from the outside looking in. There will be tweaks. The narcissist is emulating the new supply's demands, desires, personal insecurities, and life interests. If the narcissist believes you may envy the new supply, they will showcase the relationship. If the new supply is hidden, they are likely to not be worthy of envy, in the narcissist's opinion. There will be triangulation. The new supply undoubtedly will be warned of how crazy the ex-partner was. Whether you are triangulated with the new supply will come down to circumstances, and would always be the narcissist preference as a form of punishment. The new supply is the big bang, the perfect exit for the narcissist, to still control your emotions when they have gone, and if they succeed, it is detrimental to the victim's mental and physical health. The urgency: we have to know information about the new supply. The checking on social media. Or you may stay far away from it all, and be given the info by a naive person that informs you, or an enabler and flying monkey. These are all the same tools the narcissist has been using to control and manipulate your emotions. A narcissist will not walk away peacefully if there's opportunities available to cause pain and destruction. They will complicate the divorce, ask the new supply to be a witness, introduce the new supply to your children prematurely. Whatever hurt they can impose on their exit, they will do if they can. The trauma we experience from the new supply can also serve them later, if they try to hoover and bond again. The new supply is extra devastating, because of the public humiliation. The abuse behind closed doors in some cases can be managed from the public's vision. You suffer your addiction to the narcissist in secret, like a functioning alcoholic. The new supply at the final stages of this marvel is a puke of all our fears. Will they get married, have children? Do they do the things I wanted to do? And maybe it was all my fault, and I am to blame. It is all potent narcissistic supply for the narcissist, when we are understandably dismayed by the new supply. After my 10-year relationship with my narcissistic ex, he discarded me in 2014. The last few years of the relationship I was a broken woman. He was asleep when the children were up in the mornings getting ready and leaving for school, gone within an hour after waking up, and home every night after we were all in bed. It was like living with a stranger. Whenever we spoke, he was aggressive, mean, and told me my shortcomings all the time. He even had the nerve to say I needed to get more male influences for our sons. He has brothers, and a father all local, and spent no time with his sons. I worked full-time, paid for everything, had a vehicle, and could not get any support. Looking back, his obnoxious behavior towards the end was so brutal, because the new supply was long in the picture, as they usually are. After he discarded me, I didn't learn about her until 6 months later, when she was pregnant with his son. I was numb to the whole experience. I was under such emotional narcissistic abuse from my mother, it felt like I went from one bad relationship to the next. I didn't feel anymore. I was glad to be rid of him. It's the experience of what narcissistic abuse does to you that I would struggle to get over later, and I am still repairing now. He accused me of being jealous, and saying things to the children about his new supply's pregnancy. I did not say anything, my worst fears were all happening. I was broken, and silent. One day the new supply called furious at me, as if I was keeping him captive from her. I hadn't seen him in months. I told this woman he destroyed my life, and how I felt about it all. She had a different masked persona for him, one I didn't know. He is a parasite, and sold himself to the new supply, as a businessman. How hilarious. I can laugh now, but at the time I was drained and depleted. He then made a smear campaign that I'm jealous of her, and tried to ruin his new relationship. He cursed me out after she called me, and said apparently the new supply likes me, and he doesn't see why we did not argue. He is a low-spectrum narcissist. A few months later, when I was at my lowest, "I am going to marry her," he said. I replied, "How? She's as sad as I was when we was together, and she doesn't sound as stupid as I was." It is one of the only times he had no comeback. They eventually broke up, and the new smear campaign was that I had broken them up. The new supply looked similar to myself when I had more vibrancy. If he could have used her to completely control my emotions after, and make me obsess about them, he absolutely would have. Some narcissists will succeed at this ugly maneuver, and it will be very hurtful for the victim. The hateful feelings towards the new supply are all very natural. The new supply may be ignorant and arrogant, exasperating your hurt and fury. We may actually believe that this is going to be a more successful situation for the narcissist, but it will always be an abusive situation. The level of mental harm done in narcissistic abusive relationships has long-term effects. It is worse if you have a narcissistic parent, or a long-term relationship of any form with a narcissist. These people will only create bonds through trauma. This is the only way they know how to bond with people. It is also done for their mental survival. They receive from narcissistic fuel. The person they choose as the new supply is already, or is becoming addicted to them the same as we were. They too will start to exhibit the behavior of an addict, resulting from the confusion of feeling good emotions, followed by very bad emotions, all controlled by the narcissist. Once our emotions are under submission, we are no different from an addict, and the stakes are higher, because the world doesn't understand, and the support is lower. Emotional abuse kills, and it can rarely be proven. My friend Crystal died at 32, with 4 children for her husband, and the only man she had ever slept with. Crystal's whole family is sweet, kind, and giving. Her parents are very elderly. When Crystal got with her husband, I was disappointed, as he had made advances at all the women in our small community. Things moved so rapidly between them. They were married in the first year, and she was expecting her first baby in the very next year. Slowly all her friends and family were cut off. Eventually we almost forgot about Crystal, until she got cancer. When I visited her in the hospice, I had cold chills, that this would be my future if I stayed with my ex, and I couldn't explain it. I knew nothing about narcissistic abuse, until 6 years later, and I was still with my ex of 10 years at this time. Her husband hadn't visited her in weeks at the hospice. He was giving her the silent treatment on her deathbed, and had already moved his new supply into their family home, with their 4 children. We would later learn the new supply was pregnant. At the time my friend lay on her deathbed. Crystal's husband hadn't slept with her, or touched her in years. All this info was not shared with anyone, not even me. She told my narcissistic mother, who was always good at getting info from my friends and I. Of course it was just gossip material for my mother. Once Crystal died, the night before she died, and could no longer speak, her husband was heard asking a nurse, "When is she going to die, and why is it taking so long?" I felt like I couldn't breathe after she died, and I took my first ever holiday alone after the funeral. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was in the same situation as Crystal, but I couldn't see how exactly. All I knew was the same coldness I felt from her husband. I felt it from my ex, and it made me afraid. Crystal died with a very broken heart. Many years later it would all make sense, as she was most definitely narcissistically abused. Since she died in 2013, her husband never married the New Supply. It was also obvious she had been on the scene long before Crystal died. They now have 3 children, plus Crystal's 4 children. The New Supply suffers terrible domestic violence, and he once let people see videos of him urinating on her. I am fully aware he is more than a narcissist, as he has also taken part in some real criminal activities, that includes large financial fraud and rape. I have no judgments about outbursts towards the New Supply, stalking them on social media, and all things like that. When we are addicted to the narcissist, there is withdrawal, and the weaning off stage is different for everyone. Forgive yourself for any such actions, and keep pushing towards the road of healing and recovery from narcissistic abuse. My biggest worry about the scenario of the New Supply is the level of pain it inflicts on the person subjected to it. My friend Crystal had no fight left in her. The cancer she had was ridiculously rare, and almost unheard of for women, and it developed in her sexual organ area. He cheated on her relentlessly, and I believe he killed her, and of course this will never be proven, or understood by most. She suffered from this silent abuse, that showed up in her physical body. When the New Supply becomes known, our physical body is in even more danger from the harm caused by grief. You must hold on tight to this truth, when others are saying, "Why can't you get over it," and to move on. Be mindful of the mental and physical harm you are at risk from, after witnessing the New Supply. Hearing from others who can relate to you is crucial. There are several private narcissistic abuse support groups on Facebook, and I am sure on other platforms. Hearing from like-minded people, I promise you, will help. Do not let it eat you up inside. You need to communicate what has happened as a matter of urgency with someone who understands, to make your way back to reality after this horrendous abuse.